Okay, hello my friends, welcome to this channel, and today topics will be about low visibility approach and execute automatic landing system, and we are talking about the most of the options which Boeing 737 has, and it is fail passive system. That means that we are allowed to perform the category A approach. And as the beginning, I would like to explain or let's say tell that this video it's for those of you who are basic, who would like to learn how to perform the low visibility. In this case, you may let's say skip some parts of my explanation, but mainly this video is for you, those of you who become a professional pilot, and again it is for European Safety Agency operational procedures and licensing pilot, not for FAA Federal Aviation, because the procedures may slightly different, and I would not like to tell you the lies or something like that. So we will discuss this situation right now. So first of all, when you are departing from your home airport, you must check the weather at your destination. And as you can see, the weather, if for example on your destination, it's approximately at or a little bit below the minimums for category 3A approach. That means for low visibility. Then you have to realize yourself and let's say to make some additional steps regarding to your briefing. And the first step is I need to check my destination alternate. If on my destination alternate is category 1 available prior 1 hour of our arrival and 1 hour after departure. It's because if you have loose over your one engine, you are not allowed to do the low visibility procedure with 2 autopilot engage unless you have failed operational system, which is option on Boeing, but it's not most common because of statistical methods shows us that most of the approaches, and believe me, I did it in real life so many times, I did just the training LVO approaches, but the real approaches for my all long year career was maybe 4 or 5. So if your minimum drops down below Cat 3A to Cat 3B, it really happens not a lot time, as you can for example as you think that will be. But anyway, jump to the pre-flight briefing. Within the pre-flight briefing, when you realize that your airport has LVO probabilities, you need to take to account 2 factors. The first factor is that you need to take some additional extra fuel available, because the airspace and all of the traffic have let's say bigger separations each from another. So for example, the ATC can separate the traffic within 10 nautical miles. In some airports which are basically separation 2.5 nautical mile minimas, that should be 8 nautical mile minimas. It's because you need to fully concentrate on your landing, on your landing roll, and your rollout within the taxiway, which are appropriate for low visibility procedures in force. Okay, so that's the one point. Another point, your airplane should be capable to do the auto land. What does it mean? That if you open your MEL CDL and you found there is written Cat 1 only, you are not able to perform the LVO, so that means that you have to use another airport, or you have to wait for weather improvement or for maintenance action to repair the airplane, but this caused big delays, so we would like to avoid these situations. Anyway, so this is the pre-flight procedure, how it looks like, and what you need to take into consideration. Regarding to your low visibility, currently we are performing the low visibility in Prague airport, and we are holding at 10,000 feet. And first of all, I would like to explain how low visibility approach looks like when you are performing in flight simulator. Okay, in flight simulator we may completely disregard the ground equipment failures and the restrictions which are we following from the ground equipment, because our flight simulator scenario doesn't allow, or let's say it's not applicable for us. So in this case, how low visibility procedure looks like? The low visibility procedure looks like that with heading select, you are not performing continuous descent technique or whatever to fly high above the profile, and so on and so on. We have to be stabilized, and have to be stabilized really as soon as possible, no matter if we level up the airplane and fly to a final approach point, and be aware of the fact that until 1000 feet above the aerodrome elevation we have to be stabilized and checklist completed. And what is the proper sequence? The proper sequence is fly with the heading to capture the localizer, then put the R mode, and as soon as we capture the glide slope, we put the missed approach altitude, missed approach heading, and we couple the second autopilot. Within the 500 feet we should have flare arm command on our FMA. What is FMA? FMA is flight mode annunciator, and is depicted right over here. And the next step is at 340 feet RA, radio altitude, the airplane should start to stabilize the trimming to the aft. That means that the airplane it's preparing itself for the flare action. Okay, so this is the situation. I will little bit let's say adjust our payload because it was in proper setting with the Microsoft Flight Simulator. But anyway, why I'm mentioning this situation? As you are closer to the ground, there are some FMA indications. For example, at 500 feet array, it should appear with the green flare. That means that airplane starting to flare. At 30 feet, it may go to the retard mode, and it shows us the airplane is closing the thrust levers, and we are nearly to touchdown. As soon as we touch down the airplane and we are on the center line, the pilot flying should disengage the autopilot and control the roll within his own steering, and he should disengage the auto throttle. And the auto throttle should be disengaged when it is automatically doesn't occur. That's why we are dividing the LVO procedures to captain and first officer. Captain is always, but okay, it depends on the company you are flying, because some of the companies have first officer flying LVO and some companies has the captain as the pilot flying. And now what I would like to point out is I flew for many companies, and I found the best solution is that the captain is pilot flying and first officer is pilot monitoring. Why? Because the first officer is focusing on the displays and tells to the captain, because captain is more experienced when there is some failure in order to land or to perform the go around. So for example, at 50 feet array you have no retard, so we are using the no call out policy, because if I set no retard, that means for captain that he don't need to evaluate the situation, the call out was correct or call out was wrong. But if the first officer say no retard, it is automatically going into the top of the head of the left seat pilot, which is captain. Okay, we don't have the flare, so he disconnect the autopilot and flare the airplane manually. Or for example, at 30 feet array, we don't have the retard call out, so the first officer will call no retard. That means that the captain will disengage the auto thrust and close the thrust levers manually. Okay, so I think that this is the very reasonable and very good point of the thing. Okay, so let's jump to another thing. As you are coming to the airport, low visibility procedures must be enforced within the AT's information. Be aware of the fact that all category 2 and 3 approaches should be performed, but especially category 3 approaches must be performed with the auto-land system. And there are some tips you need to check for a particular airport if your auto-land capability is within your limits. That means that if we can go down to Prague airport and for example runway 24, and as you can see here, we have 3 degrees of descent angle. If we have more than 3 and 3.25 degrees, we are not able to land because this is the Boeing limitation. What I will recommend is use the flaps 40. Why flaps 40? Flaps 40 because with the flaps 40 you have bad flare conditions. I recommend it to use, and for some companies is mandatory use, no matter how long runway it is, to use the auto brake too. Okay, I think that so far the sequence of autoland and the tips was sufficient, and now we should be aware of the fact that the airplane must be qualified. in the terms that within half year airline should perform the training category approaches in order to know that airplane is fully serviceable, and he is capable to do. The flight crew should be as well low visibility procedures qualified as well. Regarding to the lights, I will recommend that to put the strobe lights to steady, because the flashing lights will make you not focus to land, and let's say, for example, do not see the runway because you are blind. And even if it is night conditions, I will recommend it to put all your landing lights to off, all of the landing lights and taxi lights to off position, because you see you have better conditions in order to see the elements of the runway, and you should see at least of 3 elements of runway system. It depends of your approach light systems or runway edge lights on center lines, runway lights, and so on and so on. And now we are coming to the point that some of the companies are using APU off, APU on. Okay, so as soon as they start the LVO operation, they put the APU on. Why it is okay and it is necessary? Up to 800 feet of radio altitude, if something happens, you may easily put the APU on bus and continue with auto land without any further problems. Otherwise, if you don't have APU available, you need to execute the go around and make it twice, and it's really annoying situation. Okay, and the same procedure applied on the ground. But remember, up to 800 feet of array. So this is the basic procedure, and while you are performing the low visibility procedure, we are dividing, or let's say we are establishing so-called approach ban. Approach ban is 1000 feet above aerodrome elevation. That means that in Prague is 1250 plus 1000, and we should have at 2200. This will be our approach ban. What is approach ban? It's limitations which is going from EASA operational procedures, and it's applied for all the airplane operators, and that means that if the RVR is below our applicable minima, we can go to approach ban and wait for improvement. As soon as we are on the approach ban and the RVR doesn't approve, we need to execute the go around. But if we are below the approach ban and RVR was okay, but suddenly we have advised from the tower that RVR drops below the minimums, we can continue to minimums and see if we are able to land or not able to land, and perform the go around. So this is the approach ban, and this is related to our RVR. The second part of the approach ban is related to ground equipment, but I will not discuss this before we are flying on flight simulator. So ground equipment approach ban, we skip this procedure because it has no sense for flight simulator purposes. Another part of the approach ban is due to airplane failure. And now, what is important basically? Basically what is important is it's that if something happens prior to approach band, we have enough time to perform the non-normal checklist, evaluate the situation if we are able to land or if we are not able to land, and perform the go around. In case we are not able to land, we may do the procedure like revert it to category 1 and go to CAT 1 minima, and if we don't see the runway within CAT 1 minima, we execute the go around. So this is the approach band what we are going to do before approach band with some inoperative systems within the airplane. After approach band, it basically applies anything happens, we are performing the go around. Okay, but here is quite a tricky situation, because in some situations you are allowed to do and perform the landing. For example, if we are on 50 feet radio altitude and we have no retard, so the captain, if we feel that it's okay, so he may disconnect the autopilot and flare the airplane manually. That's why the left seat pilot is always pilot flying while category 3 approach. Okay, if we are a 30 feet array and we see that, for example, there is no retard, so the captain will disengage the auto thrust and retard the thrust levers. Okay, so there are the exceptions, and there are more few exceptions, and it depends on your knowledge of Boeing 737, and you have to follow strictly your company procedures. For example, no matter how approach band is, if I have, for example, suddenly auto throttle inoperative, I can easily perform the category 3A approach auto land, but I will need to adjust the speed with the auto thrust manually. Okay, so this is one example for it, let's say, and there are a bunch of the things that we are allowed to do and we are not allowed to do prior to approach band. And now you are asking yourself, that's okay, captain, it was so many informations, and I don't know what I have to do, what did you say, and what is allowed, what is not allowed, and so on and so on. So in summary and basically, approach band, if RVR is okay up to 1000 feet, which is at Prague 2200 feet, we may continue. If there is meteorological conditions below, we may continue to approach band. If there is no improvement, we may execute the go around. If we are below and suddenly the let's say the RVR drops below our minimums, we have to perform the go around. Okay. In case of ground equipment failure, it doesn't apply for flight simulator. In case of airplane failure, we have two options: perform non-normal checklist, revert it to category 1, and go all the way down to category 1 minimums, because sometimes it could happen that in category 1 you see the runway and you are able to land. So that's why we are performing this approach. And basically, below the approach band, if any failure happens, we are executing go around, but again, there are some exceptions which we can avoid. Okay, and it depends on the captain's responsibility and the captain's evaluation of the situation. If we have no retard and the captains don't feel that he will flare the airplane manually, he has to do the go around. Okay, so basically that's it. We discussed, I think, that all situations, and now we will perform the auto land. And within the auto land, we will do the normal auto land without any failure. Okay, so we are going to prepare for the auto land of runway 24 in Prague. So what is important? It's important to brief enough. So final approach course is 241. We have 241 and we have as well 241. As I said before, start the APU. In case of you lose your generator, you can easily put it on bus and continue with your autoland without any further problems. But this failure can occur up to 800 feet, not below, because below it's not applicable. Okay, so anyway, we briefed the miss approach. It's basically 241 to 4000 feet and straight ahead with the vectors. It's nothing special. And now we have to prepare the radio navigations. So 109.1 on both sides, 101.9. And now we have to check it with our approach base. So we can put the ILS runway 24, we perform the execute, and from Lex page we put Papa Romeo 416, it's not there, it's this center fix, sorry, so center fix, we can put it right here, and we can put extended center line, which is 241. Okay, so now we are okay. We put the heading select, we're starting our turn, for example to the left with the right base. As I said before, recommended auto brake is auto brake 2, so we'll put auto brake 2. If you don't feel comfortable, put auto brake 3. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, we can go down to 4000 feet, which is our final approach point and glide slope capture altitude, and we can go down slowly because we have plenty of time. So now we have to check once again 109.1, 241, 241 is set, and be aware of the fact that the first officer should have approach mode here in order to tell the captain the deviation from the localizer and the glide slope curves. Okay, we have pre-selected nav setting, that's quite perfect. And now what we are going to do to set flaps 40, because flaps 40 we have better flare, so our approach speed will be 133. Okay, that's basically okay. And that we have pre-selected. So we are below flight level 100 and we are expecting that we are approaching to low visibility, so we switch off the lights, okay, and steady and strobe, and from strobe to steady lights in order to have the better view. That's perfect. Now we have to check the hour minimums. Okay, and what are the hour minimums? So first of all, as I explain it, what is the approach ban? So we need to first to set the category 1 minimums. So it's baro minimums, and it's 1358. So we will pre-select it 1358. So minimums for category 1 we have. And now we have to set the minimums for our LVO. And remember, the minimums for low visibility operation, it's always related to decision height. And why it is always related to decision height? It's because you are so close to the ground that your decision height should be measured from your wheelbase to your ground surface, and and barometric altitude is not sufficient to measure exact like your radio altimeter. Okay, so we put there 50, and now we have everything set up. So once again, recall, we have MCP set, we have auto brake set, flaps 40 we have set, that's okay. Descent page I will not discuss right now because it's not necessary. Navigation setting is set as well. So we are basically good to go, and in the forecast page I can put, for example, 60 like this now, and we can go to 1030 hectopascals. Okay, and now remember, always if you are flying like this approach, you should have multiple RVR information. What does it mean? If you have multiple RVR information, that means that it is measured within the 3 zone: touchdown, middle zone and end zone. And the procedure is basically, on touchdown zone you should have RVR of 200 meters, on middle zone 225 meters, 125 meters, and at the end zone you should have 75 meters. But it is valid only for the approach which is multiply RVR information. And in order to make it harder, I will put it like this now, and switch the light as necessary in your cockpit. Okay, so if there is something illuminated which you don't like, you can adjust it. For example, I don't like my PFD illumination. Okay, so that's okay. In board view, I would like to lower this one. So, I'm sorry, like that one. FMC, okay, bright it down, upper view, go down. Standby instruments as well. On pilot monitoring side, do the same procedure. Okay, and that's it, we have it. And as soon as we are ready for turn, for example I put flaps 1, we can we can just turn to our base leg. And remember, if you are flying with a low visibility, you encounter some kind of wind shear when you're entering the clouds, or you have to account with the lowest temperature. So if you are entering with the low visibility clouds, you constantly monitoring your total air temperature in order to put the engine anti-ice on, because within the fog, that means that you have isothermal or inversion layer. So do not forget about it. Okay, so we can go down with flaps 5, we can arm the localizer, make it a little bit shallower, And as I said before, okay, we now level the EASA. It's completely okay. And we are slowing the speed again. It's completely okay. We are using LVO procedures, and each airport, each air traffic controller is aware of the situation, and he or she will space the airplane uh, up to the scenario. Okay. So now you can see the first officer as the approach mode on the inside, and he will tell you any deviation. So now he sees that we are approaching the localizer, so he tells us the localizer is alive. That means that we are approaching the localizer, and we are preparing in order not to deviate. So that's why there is always a Boeing recommended procedure, even or especially when there is independent parallel approaches. You have to fly it with the heading select, and as you have localizer captured, you will put the missed approach heading. Okay, and in our case, missed approach heading will be 241. So as soon as we have a localizer captured, we put the missed approach heading 241 as we have. We arm the approach mode. Okay, and checked what is our go around altitude. Our go around altitude is 4,000 feet. Okay, so in this case we are lucky because 4,000 feet is the altitude in which we capture the glide slope, and 4,000 feet is as well the missed approach altitude. Okay, that's perfect. And now we have 5 nautical miles to final approach point. So if we see that the glide slope is alive, so we may put gear down and flaps 15. Again, the first officer is monitoring the situation. So glide slope is alive. In this case, gear down, flaps 15. Like this one, arm the speed brakes. Put engine start switches to continuous. And now we are waiting for glide slope captured. On pilot flying side is always approach. On pilot monitoring side is progress page number 2 in order to see the deviations, because the wind limitations for auto land is as well restricted from standard wind conditions. Okay, we have glide slope captured, gear down, flaps 15. We can couple the second autopilot, and we can go to flaps 25, because you can go to flaps 40 directly. So flaps 25, and once we have flaps 25, we need to a little bit let him to, I don't know why he's adjusting the speed. Okay, it should go slow down, but anyway, 133 is our approach speed, so we have, and now we need to start the checklist. So engine start switches are continuous, which should be on continuous, I guess. So it's, yes, it's on continuous. And speed brakes, I put it into the arm position. Okay, so it's armed, landing gear down, flaps 40, green light. And now this is the situation we are approaching the approach ban and what I was talking about. Okay, so again, if RVR is okay, we are able to proceed to approach ban. If RVR is not okay, we have to make a holding and wait for improvement. If we are below the approach ban and RVR drops below the minima, we may continue and try to make an approach, but probably with no success. Ground equipment failure due to approach ban is not valid for flight simulator purposes. An airplane, if there is something happens, we have still 300 feet to check the QRH if we are able to perform with this nature of failure the LVO. If we are not able, we just revert it like now to category 1 minima and we may continue to category 1 minima. Okay, so anyway, we have flare arm command. That's perfect. If we don't have this situation right here, it's on fail passive, cut 3A, so we have to perform the go around. Up to 800 feet, if we have generator failure, we just connect the APU and reconnect the autopilots, and we may perform, we may continue to auto land. As you can see, we are below the approach ban. So anything right now which can happen, basically we have to perform the go around. We have some exceptions, like auto thrust is not available, so we can perform the auto land and control thrust manually. Okay, and if we don't have the flare, we can flare them manually or perform the go around. It's on captain decision. But there are some of the failures in which we are not allowed and we have to perform go around. As 3,400 feet, we have stabilized the trimming, that was okay. Now we can see the runway, that's perfect. So a decision approaching minimums. We have minimums, landing, okay? Okay, so autopilot disengaged. And now we are concentrating on the center line and let's say manual braking, and we are waiting for the green light in order to, if we need the lights, for example like this one, we can use it without any further problems, but we need to exit the runway with the assigned taxiway. So that means that we have to follow the green lights. Okay, so like now we see the green lights. Yes, we can see the green lights. So in this case we are going here, and remember one thing, and again the lights are applying to us in order to our liking, what we should have. Okay, so now if somebody tells the runway vacated, it's not a good procedure, because as you can see it's cut one holding point. So that means that the runway is not vacated, and because we are disturbing the signals for the other airplanes which are behind us. So we need to go, we can put the APU on bus like now without any problems, and we have to wait for another point, and this is, I will stop again the airplane, and this point, as you can see, is cut to 3 holding point. So now we shall advise to the tower that the runway is fully vacated, and now the other airplane has clearance to land. Okay, and low visibility taxiing, it was discussed in my previous video, so I hope you like this video, enjoy, and see you next time soon. Bye.